Wow, Raider Nation, we got a lot of updates today. The locker room was in shambles after this game. We got a new report on what exactly the mood was inside the locker room and how Derek Carr was kind of in and out of there. Plus, Darren Waller and Renfro are maybe going to be back. There is some kind of sketchy stuff going on in terms of whether or not they're going to be able to play this week against the Patriots. And also, is genius Josh McDaniels sabotaging Derek Carr? This is something that we straight up have to talk about. We are almost at 40,000 subscribers. Hit that red subscribe button for more Raiders content. So according to Paul Gutierrez of ESPN, the locker room was very odd and quiet after the game.
One of those things, that going in that locker room, there was a sense of finality to that locker room, JT, that I had not sensed all year long, and definitely didn't feel it last year. That it was just like, wow, how did that happen again? How did this happen to us again? Nobody really talked. I mean, one of my sports center heads, I said, if you were to say the locker room was quiet, that would be doing silence a disservice. It's one of the strangest things I've ever seen. Derek Carr was the first guy in the tunnel and out. He just sprinted through. You never see that.
And that was from JT the Brick Show on Raider Nation Radio. And that was very interesting because, hey, was kind of a different mood in the locker room, sort of a sense of finale, meaning that, hey, it seems like the Raiders' playoff hopes are completely shut. And maybe the Raiders players were a little disappointed in their head coach, who made some sus-ass calls to help them lose this game. And I think that is also why Derek Carr kind of was in and out. You heard Paul Gutierrez say that. He was first in the tunnel, first out, and you rarely see that from Derek Carr. Keep in mind, Davante Adams left. I mean, he didn't answer questions from the media. Even after the embarrassing loss to Jeff Saturday, Davante Adams was there answering questions. So what makes this L different? It feels like there is something different about this L against the Rams, where something maybe has broken in the Raiders locker room, and Derek Carr tried to kind of cover up for the problems in the locker room and the presser today.
I was pissed off a little bit, and rightfully so. Honestly, I was much more pleased with that reaction than I was with a different reaction earlier in the season. So to see that means people care.
But he's sort of caught in an odd position. He has to act like everything's positive, even though we've seen him break down just like he has after the Colts game. And immediately after the game, Carr had nothing to say in terms of why he was not asked to throw the football more. Why were the Raiders not more aggressive in the passing game, even though the Rams stink in pass coverage and are pretty good at run defense?
I'm not sure. That's a better question for Josh. Whatever's called, we're trying to execute at a high level. There's times where there's run and pass checks and different things based on looks that we get and all that kind of stuff. So sometimes things can end up that way too, but for me personally, whatever Josh is calling, we're just trying to execute that and make it happen.
And he always says this. You always hear this throughout the whole entire season. I'm just trying to do exactly what Josh McDaniels wants. I'm just trying to execute exactly what Josh McDaniels wants. Well, what Josh McDaniels wanted in this past game against the Rams is absolutely insane. And I'm actually even shocked to tell you that this actually happened. It's completely unprecedented, something unbelievable, which is the fact that Derek Carr had his fewest passing attempts in a game when healthy of his entire career. Of his entire 9-year career, Derek Carr has always thrown more passes than this previous game against the Rams. Yes, there's been a couple games where he got injured midway, had to be taken out. No, when healthy a full game, which is pretty much every game because Derek Carr has actually been quite reliable throughout his career, he's never passed for less than 21 passing attempts. The only time he's even come close to 20 passing attempts, which is what he had against the Rams, was against the Niners in 2018, but he was actually subbed out of that game in the fourth quarter because it was such a blowout. So Josh McDaniels, even though the Rams are not good at pass defense, even though the Rams succeed in run defense, Josh McDaniels decided to have Derek Carr, and you really need to let this marinate, and you really need to let this soak in to really clue you in as to what is happening with the Raiders. Josh McDaniels decided to let his quarterback, who is a top 100 quarterback, ranked really high in the offseason, looked really good in the first half when passing the football to Davante Adams. He chose to have this guy have the fewest passing attempts in his entire career, even though Josh Jacobs is pretty banged up, and instead of getting this guy to pass the football a few more times than the lowest ever in his career, he decided to continue running an injured Josh Jacobs into the ground. So I don't know, this completely sketches me out. You have a quarterback who keeps getting better and better, and for all the people who hate Derek Carr, you still have to agree he's a top 15 QB in the NFL, and for him to just have his fewest passing attempts against a horrible Rams defense, it doesn't make sense unless you were trying to lose games. And hey, the Raiders, yes, they can't tank really to get the highest draft pick, but there could be a plot, which I've talked about this whole time, time, which I have been always skeptical of and kind of concerned with, which is the fact that, hey, Derek Carr, there's a 1 year out in his contract and the Raiders can move on from Derek Carr. Josh McDaniels, I don't believe he's a saint. I don't believe he's changed at all since his time in Denver. If you actually listen to the press conferences back to back, this dude still talks exactly the same as he did when he was in Denver.
And are looking forward to moving on and improving and working towards the 2009 season. A lot of great guys, and D-Rob's been competing since he got here.
But Derek Carr is still persevering. Dude is still 10th in passing touchdowns and 11th in passing yards, despite the fact that he has Josh McDaniels. Despite the fact that Josh McDaniels gives him his fewest passing attempts in the game. Despite the fact that Josh McDaniels decides to run the ball. I mean, multiple times you see this throughout the season. Run the ball on 3rd and 5. Run the ball on 3rd and 4. I mean, 3rd and 4 against the Titans. I will never, ever forget it. Hand the ball off to Brandon Bolden on 3rd and 4 to try to get the first down. That's not going to cut it. Anybody can tell you that's not going to cut it. And when I saw that happen in the 3rd week of the season, I knew something was kind of up. And it gets even crazier. Derek Carr's already getting scapegoated. You hear people in the media say, oh, maybe the quarterback position is the problem with the Raiders. It's all these people, all these different media outlets who are kind of having this coordinated effort, it seems like, to pin the blame on Derek Carr and open the opportunity for somebody like Tom Brady to the Raiders to seem justified. And I got to tell you guys, I know there are so many Raiders fans who will not be cool with that. If we basically have to have Brady and the Patriots win the Raiders a Super Bowl, then it's not really the Raiders winning a Super Bowl. I mean, let's just be real with it. And here you have it, Josh McDaniels, the red zone passer rating of Derek Carr under Josh McDaniels this season is the worst in his career. He did better with Todd Downing. Todd Downing was a better play caller for Derek Carr in the red zone than Josh McDaniels in terms of passer rating. Same with Bill Musgrave. Same with John Gruden. Same with Greg Olsen. And look, if Josh McDaniels is so great, Mark Davis says Josh McDaniels is the future. He needs to be the coach for years, yada, yada, yada. Well, if this is the case, then why can't he get a QB? And let's just say Derek Carr is a bad QB. Let's just say it. Why can't he have a bad QB, get a better passer rating in the red zone than Todd Downing? Could someone explain this to me? If Josh McDaniels is if he's such a genius, why can't he have, we'll say a top 20. Even though I don't agree with this, let's just say Derek Carr is a bad QB. Why can't he make him better if he is such a offensive genius? This is suspect to me. The Raiders are able to get yards. Devontae Adams still gets his big stats and everything, and they're able to move down the field. But when it comes to the red zone, when it comes to actually scoring, when it comes to converting critical 3rd downs, Josh McDaniels always makes decisions that seems like it puts the Raiders in the worst position to succeed. I feel like if you just listen to the Raiders media, even people like JT the Brick, people are very critical of Derek Carr, and they're not putting any attention at Josh McDaniels, even though the fans seem to know that Josh McDaniels seems to be the problem here, because we've seen Derek Carr be successful, and we watch these games and we watch these play calls that leave us scratching our head. We've done tons of videos about them, and we're not going to stop. We got more coming out, a lot more. You guys need to really pay attention to the video coming out tomorrow against Josh McDaniels on this channel. Make sure you turn on notifications, because I think it's going to be very damning. And now the Raiders are in a position where they could be eliminated from the playoffs this week, and I would not be surprised if this happens. The way it could happen is if the Raiders lose against the Patriots, which would not be a shocker to me at all, and Miami picks up a win against Buffalo. The New York Jets also pick up a win as well. And I can already see it coming, man. Oh, well, Derek Carr had Devontae and still couldn't get to the playoffs. All the media heads are going to completely avoid any of the mistakes that Josh McDaniels has made, and even some of the critical mistakes that Patrick Graham made in the end. It was sketchy as hell, and I think that's why some of the players were pissed off. I think that's why it was silent in the locker room, is because there are some sketchy decisions made by these coaches that make these players feel like, yo, what is really going on here? Why are we losing? Are these dudes trying to lose right now? And there's one sliver of hope. Maybe Hunter Renfrow and Darren Waller appear to be back. Are they going to be back? Josh McDaniels still isn't given the complete verdict that they will be back for sure playing in this game against the Patriots. And even Derek Carr said, hey, he hopes they play.
Yeah, my hope is that they get to play whenever they're allowed to, whenever they get more reps and get their reps in practice. That's up to coach and that's up to Cortez and everybody. Like, for me, I would love to be able to see what it could be like, and if we can just start getting better and see what that looks like, see what it looks like when everyone's there and what we planned on it looking like. That would be nice, but it's the NFL and that doesn't always work out that way.
Keep in mind, Darren Waller said he was ready to go against the Rams. We could have had Darren Waller against the Rams, and call me a tinfoil hat. I really do not care anymore because I'm just beyond pissed off about this season and how this coaching staff has handled this season. I do not care if I'm called that anymore. Do not give a shit. Really, I mean, what has Josh McDaniels done? He has starved Derek Carr of his weapons. I mean, what Derek Carr is saying, oh, I hope they come back, and it's kind of a decision with the coaches and some of the training staff, and you got players like Darren Waller saying, I'm ready to go. I can play against the Rams, and then you don't give Derek Carr that weapon. To me, that looks like you were trying to make him look bad by starving him of his weapons. You're starving him of his weapons, and then in the second half of the game, you don't call passing plays to Devontae Adams. You have him throw the fewest times in his career, and I know I've been repeating that a lot, but it's important. It's important to know that he had him attempt the fewest passes in his career. It's very important to know that. So you're starving him of weapons. Who knows how, could Renfrow have been back earlier? Who knows? We don't know. We already know for a fact that Waller could have been back earlier, and McDaniel said no. So you tell me what that means, because to me, it's shady as hell, and it looks like he's trying to fuck over Derek Carr. And another update, we got Josh Jacobs in the red non-contact jersey. And so, yeah, Jacobs is banged up. He's got the finger wrapped up, the pinky wrapped up. We saw him in pain this last game. So what do you think is going to happen, Raider Nation? Now that Jacobs is banged up, really injured going into this game, what, he's going to attempt to run the ball 40 times? Genius Josh is probably going to attempt to run the ball 40 times because he's banged up. But I'm going to be keeping my eyes open, man, to the relationship between Derek Carr and Josh McDaniels. I don't trust McDaniels. I currently right now, based on decisions that have been made, I don't care if I sound like wacky or whatever. I think it's sketchy there. I think it's something is sketchy going on there. It'll be interesting to see, does the team give up on Josh McDaniels? Let's see how hard they play in this upcoming game. If some guys start to realize, hey, maybe these coaches aren't fully bought into this year, if some players start to kind of slack off and whatnot, it won't be because they suck or whatnot. It'll be because they don't trust the coaching staff. Whenever you see players slack off like that, it's because they know coaches didn't try to win that game against the Rams. They called some sus plays. That's what I'm going to be paying attention to in this upcoming game. So be sure to check out our live stream during the game on Sunday, 1 o'clock Pacific time. We will be live during the Raiders versus Patriots game. Guys, like this video if you haven't already and subscribe to this channel for more Raiders content. My name is WiFiWillie. Peace out, and I hope you have a good one.